You are Locked On Celtics Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Boston, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, when Derrick White hit that shot inside the paint to tie the game up late in the fourth quarter, I was thinking, and I think you were probably thinking very similar, they're going to escape with this victory. Instead, Orlando able to hold on, win by 2. The Magic, you just have to win by 1. They won by 2, and with that, they win game 3. And now it's a series. Celtics up 2-1 as you want to take the positive look at this series against the Orlando Magic. We welcome you into our latest Locked On Celtics postcast. I'm Steve Lennox, longtime college basketball play-by-play announcer, former national show host, ESPN Radio, satellite radio, watch Celtics games on a black and white TV, not only on a black and white TV, but on occasion a black and white TV as a kid. You are locked on with our latest Locked On Celtics playoff postcast, providing reaction to every Celtics game during the playoffs on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, as well as a Locked On Celtics podcast feed, which you know is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. With our latest Locked On Celtics postcast playoff edition, we're going to talk about the Celtics without Jrue Holiday, and it was a big night for the Celtics in terms of not being without Holiday, especially on the road. I think they could have weathered Holiday being out of the lineup. I'm not going to put it all in his lap with the number of turnovers that the Celtics had, and it was certainly a big number on the night. But Jrue Holiday missing game 3 was certainly huge for the Celtics. 3 players in double figures. Nothing, almost nothing from the bench. And in many ways, this game 3, as expected. We're going to get into that as well. Let's hear from you, our everydayers and our first-timers. Join the conversation watching live with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Hit that comment button and join the Celtics conversation. You can follow me on the X at Lennox on Hoops with questions, comments, or concerns. Locked On Celtics postcast brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off on your first year. The Celtics had a great second quarter, and we'll touch on that. Celtics up by 10 at the start of the third quarter, and Orlando did a terrific job in that third quarter. Got back in the game, down 10, that 10-point lead going into the third, almost disappearing instantly as the Magic had a 14-0 run during a 16-3 start to the third quarter. But the Celtics were still just down 3 in the third. And like the Magic in the first 2 games of the series, here's a number of the night. There has not been a single lead change in the fourth quarter over the first 3 games of this series. Magic up by as many as 12. Celtics tied it up late, and we're going to get into that final couple of minute stretch of the fourth quarter here in a moment before we get to your comments if you're with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. But the Celtics never led at any point in the fourth quarter, similar to the Magic over the first 2 games of the series at TD Garden. But the fourth quarter, Tatum fouled by Banchero on a 3, made all 3 free throws. 8 points in a row at that point. He had a great stretch in that second quarter that we'll touch on a bit later. But Tatum, 8 straight points in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics down just 3, 91-88, about 3:46 to go. Banchero missed on a jumper out of the timeout. Tim Legler on ESPN, first ESPN reference, said, hey, that's the shot he wanted. Porzingis got a rebound there. KP, offensive rebound, jump ball, and this was a weird sequence. 9 on the clock. On the inbounds, Joe Mazzulla called a timeout. Porzingis fouled on the inbound, so Tatum hits a free throw. Now the possession, and this was big. Not only was the foul and the free throw in that situation, on the foul before the ball was inbounded, you got the ball back, and they actually went from 9, I think, to 16 seconds as well, or 14 seconds on the clock. So you added a couple of seconds there as well. But Porzingis had a bad miss. Then Banchero missed on a 3, and White hit a bucket to tie the game at 91. At that point in time, 17-5 run, under 2.5 to go. Wagner came right back and knocked down a 3, and that put Orlando up 93-91. That was a huge bucket right there. Tatum fadeaway jumper from around the free throw line. Great defense by Banchero. Shot no good, empty trip for the Celtics. And then Wagner with a layup, a tough layup against Porzingis. Wagner with 32 at that point and a 4-point lead. Pritchard had a turnover. The Celtics now needed another stop. Wagner missed on a 3. And a jump ball situation, you thought. And then as Dave Pasch came back from break on ESPN, it's like, you know what? Wendell Carter Jr. might be called for a foul here, as there was certainly contact right in front of the bench. White stayed down for a little while. And you're thinking either it's off Banchero, or I'm sorry, Wendell Carter Jr., or he's going to be called for a foul. Instead, they say the ball was off White. So, Orlando basketball. So the review thought, again, it was on Carter, ruled off White, Orlando ball. White with a bucket again to make it a 2-point game. And then you think backcourt violation. And once they showed the review, Tatum poked the ball away from Banchero, and they called it an inadvertent whistle. Okay. And then you get the stop, but on the miss, in the closing seconds, the ball caromed off the rim and came out far enough where the Celtics got to it. But I think Dave Pasch said it hit the rim with about 2.6, and the Celtics had it with 0.3 of a second. The inbounds towards the rim hit the rim, ball game over. Frustrating, yes. But there are a lot of things right now that the Celtics have to be better at going forward in this series, and it has to start Sunday because you do not want to go back to Boston 2-2 for Game 5 next Tuesday. Because if Orlando wins and holds serve at home with a victory in Game 4 on Sunday, then you're going back to Orlando for a Game 6. And after winning the first 2 at home, you drop the next 2 on the road. You need to go home and win game number 5, or you're going back to Orlando down 3-2 in the series. And these are all worst-case scenarios, but these are real possibilities right now. The Celtics, again, not a whole heck of a lot from the three-point line. There are a lot of things in this series that the Celtics, they're just not doing like they did over the course of 82 regular season games. That's now the 3rd loss of the season for the Celtics in Orlando, first in the playoffs. They're still up 2-1 in the series. But during the day, Jaylen Brown added with that knee issue, added to the injury report. And then 90 minutes or so before the game, you find out, and Holiday was on the injury report, hamstring issue. That is concerning to me. You're never going to know the severity of it. But that is very concerning right now. Numbers of the night, usually we do it in segment number 2. 19 turnovers, 7 from Tatum. Just too many. And what I said over the first 2 games, a lot of this Game 3 was as expected. Orlando played better. Now, none of their bench players in double figures, but much better. Aggressive, taking shots. And Anthony Black missed on 4 3-point attempts, but he had 9 points. He was active and all over the floor. They got more production in terms of points and activity and defense from their bench than they did in the previous 2 games. And the Celtics bench, again, you're putting Al Horford in the starting lineup, so your bench now becomes Pritchard, Cornette, and Hauser's done nothing in the series. Pritchard did not take a 3-point field goal attempt. They're number 2 in the NBA during the regular season in defense, so that's carried over. The Celtics number 1 in 3-point shooting during the regular season. That is not carried over into this series, and now it's a trend because it's 3 games in a row. The Celtics were nowhere near 27 3-point attempts. Nowhere near their season average during the regular season. 9 made 3-pointers in Game 3. Nowhere near their season average. But still, they lose by 2, and they had an opportunity. If they had put 0.7 of a second and put it a full second on the clock, different scenario rather than throwing the ball at the rim and trying to get a tip at the rim for the tie. I don't want to say there's lots to like right now because you had a chance to win this game and you didn't do it. And that's concerning. Because Orlando right now, and I don't know this, I had this thought in the second half. The Celtics are staying in their lane in the sense of they're showing poise. They're getting beat up. Player goes to the floor in the first 3 games of the series, chances are it's a Celtics player. And then often they've been slow to get up. Tatum took exception as he got tied up with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is enemy number 1 right now, and he seems to like that role. You had Kendrick Perkins on ESPN before the game. And, it's not a secret. Tatum's got issue right now with his right wrist. Prompted him to miss Game 2 at home that you won. But Perkins in the pregame, I'm the Orlando Magic. I'm banging the heck out of that wrist. Yeah, that makes sense. You want to talk about, that's not fair. And that's going to happen. I'm sure he got banged plenty. And I don't want, Orlando's playing very physical. even more so than they did during the regular season. But I almost feel like, and Horford's gotten a little bit upset. I mean, Porzingis the other night gets bloodied. There's a lot of conversation about it and all those different things. But just in the sense of, I really get the feeling there's going to be an incident. The Celtics are going to go a little bit too far in terms of taking an exception to something. Maybe it's in Game 4, but I almost feel like they need to do something. There's an old line from, we'll do this right here because I think this is a great history moment.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Right now, the Celtics need to be more physical. Red Auerbach, there's a great story. Tells Bill Russell, you're getting beat up on the inside. All you have to do is throw one elbow. And right now, I do feel like the Celtics at this point in time, you know what? You keep knocking us down, we're going to knock one of your guys down. There's some malicious intent there, perhaps, but you got to send a message right now. I really feel that way. And, I always make fun. I watch Celtics in the 1980 games on a black and white TV. Well, I also watch the physicality of the 1990s, the Bulls, the Pistons, the Knicks, and the Celtics too, and the Lakers. And the Lakers at one point had to match the physicality and go after, and you know what? Enough is enough. And I do believe it's enough is enough in this series where the Celtics have to say, you know what? You knocked one of us down on the other end of the floor right there. We're going to match that number. Comments we go. Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. If you're with us on this Friday night, A, thank you. And B, join the conversation. Fat Man Olympics. We had so many turnovers, the scoreboard operator started asking if we wanted them glazed or filled. Yeah, that's too many turnovers. And again, Drew Holiday out. I mean, we'll know a little bit more on the injury and the severity when they get the injury reports on Saturday. If he's still listed as doubtful or questionable, Boston Celtics social media, Boston Celtics communications department putting video and putting pictures up, still images up of Tatum and Brown working out before the game, and about 90 minutes before the game, they were a go in the starting lineup. But at that point, too, Drew Holiday was ruled out. I don't know that Holiday ever made the court. I didn't see any of those images or videos. But Joe Mazzulla in his pregame, that was posted online. He's going to go through and, they're going to do tests. If he doesn't pass the tests, he's out, and he was. But the 19 turnovers, not all on Drew Holiday being out of the lineup. You just have to take better care of the basketball. But your backcourt in a very physical series, you can overexpose. Hauser's got to do something. That stay ready group on the bench where they knock down threes, you're not getting any. You're not getting any production. You're not getting the consistent production that you got during the season. Now, were they shut down from game to game? Yeah. And they were shut down during the regular season against the Orlando Magic. RR that zebra is awful tonight, especially. Oh, okay. Didn't like the officials. Joe Mazzulla is probably not good. In terms of trying to get a better whistle and jockeying for the officials, they do it throughout the game. They're going to do it throughout the series. Coaches have done that for a long time. Red Auerbach may have started it. Pascal, turnovers killed, but more so they didn't rebound and didn't take advantage of fast break opportunities. You're going to have limited fast break opportunities, and I don't think Orlando did either. When the Celtics had a great second quarter run, Orlando had a couple of transition opportunities, and they didn't make the most of them either. Rebounding, Celtics had, I want to do this. Celtics had the advantage in the first half rebounding. Overall, 23-17, they were 6-6 on the offensive end. But in the end of the game, second half, Orlando, 42-39 advantage. So out-rebounding them only by 3 overall for the game. But that certainly was a big factor in the second half. And Orlando, 6-6 at the half on the offensive boards, tied. Celtics had 2 offensive rebounds for the entire second half. Orlando had 9. So, Pascal, tip of the cap to you. You're right on there. Numbers of the night, look ahead to Game 4, and it really does become a must-win. Rough third quarter for the Celtics. We're going to get into that as well. Locked On Celtics postcast. Celtics lose Game 3. Orlando in the series, and it's now 2-1 with Game 4 in Orlando on Sunday night. And our Locked On Celtics postcast presented by Monarch Money. Hey, ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all your money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, easy to lose track. Hey, you can check every box there for me because I've done it all the time, almost on a weekly basis. That's where Monarch Money can come in for you. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is not just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building on your wealth. When you start using Monarch, you may soon realize just how much you're spending on food delivery. Now you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, check spending, and even plan on your long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com, and you'll receive 50% off on your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off on your first year. Celtics falling on the road. Game 4 coming up in Orlando, and I think it becomes a must-win. Because if you go back to Boston for Game 5, 2-2, you're going back to Orlando for Game 6. And again, I've been steadfast. Late in the season, right here on Locked On Celtics postcast, asked by many, who do you want to see in the first round? And I was wishy-washy. I knew Orlando would be tough, but really, I think, a lot of people say the Celtics in 5. Orlando's looking at all that and hearing all that right now and saying, no way, we're in the series. We're going to regroup, get ready, treatment, whatever they do in terms of preparation for Game 4, and they're going to be ready for Sunday night. And I was shocked that Orlando didn't come out better in the first quarter. And I really don't think that Kia Center was all that loud in the first half at all. And the Celtics were down by 4 after the first quarter, but outscored Orlando 32-18 in that second quarter. And Jayson Tatum was terrific in that second quarter. I mean, there was a stretch. Wagner had a dunk in transition. Celtics called a timeout. Orlando up 44-40. Celtics at that point, 10 turnovers. After the timeout, Tatum a 3. Then Tatum with a bucket inside the three-point line. And the first 2 makes of the second quarter in terms of field goals for Tatum at that point. 7-0 run, and the Celtics up 47-44. They weren't done. Tatum knocked down a 3. That gave him 21. 8 straight for Tatum at that point in the second quarter. The Celtics went up by 6, 50-44. The Magic at one point, and the Celtics were defending, but the Magic were also missing shots to the tune of missing 9 in a row. White had a finish. Great possession as they got rebounds and loose balls. 12-0 run for the Celtics. Tatum on a miss, and then Cornette was there for the follow dunk. And that was a 14-0 run, and Banchero had a bucket to end that run. But then White had a layup, and that set up a 2-for-1. Horford had good D. Carter was rejected by Al Horford. Final possession, Brown hits a 3. You're in the locker room up by 10. And the Celtics, again, 23-17 advantage on the boards. But the Celtics held to just 11 points in that third quarter. And again, not knocking down threes. You've got to make that, whether it's the extra pass, you've got to make some choices here. And you've got to now adjust to how you've seen enough of Orlando in the regular season and now 3 playoff games where you need to get better looks and you need to get more shots up from the three-point line. That's been the Celtics all season long. That's been the Celtics under Joe Mazzulla. But you're looking at the playoffs right now, and the Celtics, again, below 10. Didn't happen an awful lot during the regular season. You knocked down 16 threes in the Game 1 victory. You took 37 attempts. Again, well below your season average in terms of attempts. But you win the game. And you win it by double figures. 12 threes, 37 attempts again in Game 2. And you win by 9. But where the Celtics just did not in the second half, third quarter or fourth quarter. And again, I thought when White hit that bucket to tie the game up late, hey, win this one. Escape. And there's nothing wrong with escaping on the road in the playoffs. But did not happen. But the Celtics, again, and I've said this before, did not lead at any point in the fourth quarter. Right? And you don't have the lead, you can't get separation. And where the Celtics, a lot of times during the regular season, different world here in the playoffs, They would get separation with threes. If this was a first-round series against the Knicks, they would be hitting threes because the Knicks don't defend well against threes. Well, now you've got to get to the second round. Knicks-Detroit, that's an interesting series right now, with each team winning on the road once so far in the first 3 games of the series. Go back to the comments. Pascal, are the Magic playing dirty or is it just physical playoff basketball? I think it's a real fine line. But again, every time there's a player on the floor, it feels like it's a Celtics player over the first 3 games. I don't like saying back in the day, but it's sort of back in the day. You put one of ours on the floor, we're going to put one of your guys on the floor. And it can escalate quick, and I'm not calling for that. But you've got to let Orlando know enough. And the officials, it's teetered a couple times where it almost gets uncontrollable or out of hand. But I think it speaks to the Celtics' poise. You don't want to get too far out of character, but you also have to make a stand as well to say enough of us going to the floor. Cole Anthony, they elevated it to a flagrant. He had no problem doing what he did. I thought I was seeing his dad, Greg Anthony, play there. And Pascal, I think there's a fine line, and I think they're right on that line. You know, the elbow the other night on Porzingis, he's smiling coming back. You just got bloodied by your opponent. It was a vicious elbow. Intent, no. He was coming through, but it landed. And that's more to the point of whether there was intent or not. Len, when the three-pointers are not going down as a team, they need to stop attacking the basket, live by the 3, and they will die by the 3. I don't think you're contradicting yourself there, but, they've gotten to the rim. Brown, I noticed again, Jaylen Brown, watching him game in, game out this season, and that guy keeps his pivot foot better than anybody in the NBA, I feel. And just keeps it and shows the strength, not only in the lower half, but the upper half as well. Okay, Len, I appreciate that. I do feel like they're attacking the basket. I do. Again, the three-point attempts are down. Are they settling for mid-range jumpers? I think you can say that. They've gotten to the free throw line a whole heck of a lot. But yeah, there are plays that they're just going to let go through, and they're going to let them play through it as well. I'd always love to see them attack the basket more. But yeah, they've been a team all season long. Live by the 3, die by the 3. And it's right now just a matter of, can you knock down 15? They knocked down 15 threes. Do you really think they're going to lose to the Orlando Magic in this series? They've already done it once. Pascal, one more. JT, JB, wrist injuries, KP, head bleeding, Cornette, nose bleeding. Yep, that was there. I like physical ball, and the Magic play 90s ball, but Celtics might need a goon. As I'm sort of talking, Pascal, I'm thinking, would we see it with Tillman coming to do a game? Cornette's not one of those guys that's going to do it. If they really, something happens, they're not grinning and just laughing it off. They're PO'd, and they're playing physical too. But the Orlando, a couple times after the whistle, that's where it starts to get out of hand. And Anthony just kind of continued, and, guy goes to the floor. Hey, Game 4, we're going to be with you Sunday night. As always, we want to tip our cap and acknowledge our sponsor, Monarch Money. And as always, we appreciate you being on board with us as well. Supporting our sponsors is supporting us with Locked On. Opening tip set for just after 7 p.m. Boy, I'm missing Drew Carter and Brian Scalabrine with the national broadcast. I no longer apparently have NBA League Pass for the playoffs, and I'm not paying for it. But I do miss their perspective. I may have Grandy and Cedric Cornbread Maxwell for Sunday. I need the Celtics perspective on this, and I've had for the first 3 games the national stuff with ESPN and TNT. So again, we're on within minutes of the final buzzer. Hopefully we're talking about a Game 4 victory for the Celtics and going home up 3-1 and a chance to close it out. But losing game number 3 in Orlando, somewhat as expected. But you tied it up late, couldn't win it. Either tie it or send it to overtime. And I couldn't tell you one way or another if the Celtics and Magic went to overtime Friday night, who would have prevailed. I don't know. It would have been fun to watch. As always, we do appreciate you, and we appreciate you being on board with us as well. Celtics fall 2-1. The series lead now against the Orlando Magic is close to a must-win as you can have for the Celtics with Game 4 in Orlando on Sunday night. Locked On Sports Boston, number one place to hang out immediately after every game. Locked On Sports, your team, your playoff Celtics every day.